Well, we're heading back out to Ely.
Right.
We've been there for 2 weeks. This is our third trip out there because something really, really, really amazing and neat and wonderful happened while we were there.
Yes, a little bird didn't even tell us. We
This
just
time,
happened to be lucky.
We just landed there on the exact right day.
Right.
But since number 40 is being pulled out of service, number 81 has to be finished, and they've been working on it for years and years and years. And it's like, well, we better light a fire under that project and get that ready because we have to have 2 steam engines, and 40 is going to be down in mid-October, so by mid-October we need a steam engine.
Right.
So they've been working with John Ramash at Wasatch Rail Contractors in Cheyenne, and as it happened, they were there while we were there doing the hydro test of 81, and then they lit the very first fire in it, and we just
happened to be there.
Happened to luck out and see first fire on Nevada Northern 81.
That's so neat.
So check this out. First fire in Nevada Northern 81 in 60 years.
Nice.
So when I first saw Engine 81 it was down the street at the White Pine Museum. We love that museum.
Oh, that's a fun one.
But they used to have the 93 and the 81 down there. But the passenger main was mostly in place at that time. And in 1990, they brought both of the locomotives up here to the shops. And they took 81 over to the RIP building, the Repair in Place building.
Yeah, the RIP building always didn't, it doesn't sound quite right.
It doesn't. It's a really neat building. They got some awesome stuff. Anyway, this ended up over there, and 93 was brought over here to the shops and rebuilt. And then after that, they sort of started tearing into 81 over at the RIP building. But it wasn't until just a few years ago that they brought it over here to the engine shops and really started going after it. They have all of the equipment that they need, and now even the staff to completely rebuild these steam engines over here. Now, initially, number 40 was not rebuilt. They simply fired it up and started using it. I think the last time it had been rebuilt was like, I don't know, 1930 something, before World War II. And they just ran it like that for a long, long time. And then they did have to rebuild it 15 years ago, which is why it's now up for its 15-year rebuild. But now they need this engine because they need to have 2 locomotives, and 40 is going to be down. So they're finishing up the restoration on 81.
That's so cool.
Well, and as luck had it, we just happened to be there on the day that they did the hydro test. They did 2 hydro tests. First a static hydro test, and then the next day they put fire to it. But what they do is they connect the boiler here through what used to be the blowdown valve. They've removed the blowdown and connected it to a fire hose. This way they can fill the boiler right to the very, very top with water. Since water is not compressible, that would prevent a catastrophic failure. And then they can connect the very top of the steam dome to the shop's air compressor here through this hose and pressurize the boiler vessel to the maximum pressure of their shop air compressor. Now, they've already done a thickness test here on the boiler tube. It's really fascinating how they do this. But once the boiler tubes inside the boiler are removed, then someone can climb down inside the boiler vessel, and then holding an instrument against the side of the boiler tube, someone else can hold a corresponding tool on the outside. You can see they have to scrape away a bit of rust to make that work correctly, and that will show them the thickness of the boiler tube, and they can look for any thin sections, which in this case, this boiler tube is like brand new.
Well, that's good.
So yeah, everything came through swimmingly, more thickness than they ever expected to see here. They can then take a marker and write the thickness next to the test area. This is called remote field testing, and it's done with an ultrasonic device. Now, all of the mechanics are being rebuilt right here in the shop. And this is kind of fun. I was trying to figure out why it says F upper and F lower. Firemen.
Oh.
Yeah, so you got the fireman side and the engineer side, F and E. Upper and lower. Anyway, it's all torn down, and isn't it neat to be able to see inside all of the mechanism this way? You can actually see right inside the crosshead to see how the valve mechanism works. That's really neat. Anyway, let's watch them toss in the very first fire. They posted this to their Facebook page, and we'll let Mark Bassett, the director here, explain what they're doing.
Here we are at the Nevada Northern Railway National Historic Landmark in Ely, Nevada. And the guys that have done the rebuilding of this locomotive are going to lay and throw in the first fire. And there it goes. The last time the locomotive operated was 1958. And it sat outside at the White Pine Public Museum until 1990. And of course, it sat through 30 years of rain, snow, ice, and it just rusted. In 1990, the locomotive was brought right back here to the original engine house. And it sat in the corner of the engine house until we decided to do a restoration on it. And doing a restoration of a century-old steam locomotive is not for the faint of heart. And one of the big challenges of the museum is finding the next generation to maintain these wonderful machines. And we've been very fortunate to find that generation, and they're the people lighting it off.
So this is actually the second part of the hydro. The first part done with static air, and now they're actually putting steam pressure in there, which is allowing them to take it up to well over 200 psi.
That's 220, right?
Right.
It's dropping that quickly?
Yeah. 215. Because it's so full of water.
Okay.
It just takes a little. 215?
Yep. 10.
What are you shooting for?
180. Is that right?
205.
What's safety gonna look at? 190. That's the same as 93, right?
200.
That's what I expected.
195.
Who wants a drink?
Yeah, really.
Doesn't look too good, no.
Yeah.
Hey, if we were real men, we'd go make coffee out of this right now and I'll sit here and drink it.
185. 4. 3. 2. 1. 180.
Okay, let's just stay there and watch it. Let's not let it go any more above that. But if we can keep it there, let's keep it there.
This part of the hydro is being conducted by the guys from Wasatch Rail Contractors. This is John Ramash, who owns that operation. I've known him for years.
It's got a couple new stay-bolts, couple new patches. There's one small patch in the firebox, one in the wrapper sheet. Had a little bit of weld buildup done on it, but beyond that was in really, really good shape. The neatest thing about it, it's got Alesco superheater units in it. And the superheater units are so nice and so clean, they still had their Alesco tags on them. It's got superheater units from 1936 and also from 1942. The boiler's just been in great shape, and the hydro was just an absolute phenomenal success today. We've been here for basically a year working on the 81's boiler, getting it ready to go.
I didn't know it was you guys doing it.
Yeah, we've been helping them. Now, their own crew's been doing a lot of the work. We're just taking care of the specialty stuff that's, boiler related.
Yep.
Their machinists are taking care of all the studs and the heavy lifting work, and we took care of some riveting. In fact, I failed to mention that we put some new rivets in it as well. About 20 new rivets are in it. We took care of that stuff, and in the last 3 months we've gotten it all put back together, and got some pressure in it, and did house hydros yesterday and full hydro today.
So here's a really difficult question to answer. So how many steam engines is this for you?
You know what, Dale? I've got a list somewhere and I've written it down. I do know this, and I'm gonna, as nicely as I can say it, I believe I've got as many or more operating steam engines than any other contractor in the U.S. But to tell you exactly what number this one is for me, I don't know. I will tell you this, I'm as pleased or more pleased with this hydro and the way this work has gone than any other engine we've done. But I also know that this boiler and what we got to start with was almost better than anything that we've ever gotten. So I've waited 21 years, 22 years to see this day. I've always known that this was a phenomenal engine. The running gear work that they've done is phenomenal. The boiler's in great shape. This is going to be a real running engine. This is a real, for the whole industry, this is a real crown jewel. This one is.
Isn't it great to see smoke coming out of that smokestack?
That is just awesome.
Oh man, another steam locomotive is reborn. That's just so wonderful. John has rebuilt so many of these engines. I was actually there when he rebuilt his very, very first engine.
Really?
Yeah, he was in high school. He used to come around the hobby shop on his bicycle. So I've known him for a long, long time. But he bought a Cagney steam locomotive when he was about 17, I think. And he hauled it over to the metal shop at his high school, and he rebuilt it.
Wow, that's some metal shop.
I'll tell you what, and everybody was really amazed. Well, the next thing you know, everybody with a Cagney steam locomotive is coming out of the woodwork saying, well, can you rebuild mine? And he said yes. And suddenly he was in the business of rebuilding steam locomotives.
Well, that's really neat.
When we toured his shop, I think there was about 10 Cagneys torn down at that time. And then one full-size locomotive, Klondike Kate. Which was on its way up to the Como Roundhouse, and they were doing the rebuild for that. And then we got to see it up at Como, too.
Yes.
That was really neat. I don't know if any of this would have happened had it not been for Mark Bassett taking over this program years ago. He is such a mover and shaker.
We're very, very happy and excited. Last time Locomotive 81 had a fire in her belly was 62 years ago. She sat outside for 30 years in the rain. We moved her back to the engine house in 1990, and she sat there. And about 4 years ago, we started the restoration to operation. We need her because our program has grown so big that I need 2 active steam locomotives. And Locomotive 40 goes down for her 15-year boiler inspection this October. And we should have Locomotive 81 up and running by Memorial Day weekend. So we'll be switching out locomotives. Locomotive 40 has lots of issues with her that we're going to address other than just the boiler. She has running gear issues, tender issues, and we think she's going to be down for about 2 years. So about 2022, we'll have all 3 steam locomotives up and running, and that will be a very exciting day.
Well, this is a very exciting day.
This is a very exciting day. And what's so exciting about it, you know, this is technology that has sort of passed the world by. Here we are, the first fire up, and I'd say knock on wood, but, you know, no issues. We are so much closer to that Memorial Day 2021 operating date. It's just fabulous. We are very excited.
I still can't believe how just lucky and fortunate we were to stumble into this. But you know, anytime we come out here to Ely, we end up seeing something really cool. It's just a really fun place to come. Well, the final fire on number 40 is here in just a couple of days. And they're going to fire up all 3 steam engines for that. Won't that be fun? So we're going to be there. We've made reservations and bought tickets for the train. And we're going to go see that because that'll just really be something to see. Well, that was really neat.
Yes.
That was really fun to see the first fire in that
Oh,
locomotive.
that was awesome.
And talk to the guys. I mean, get caught up with John Ramash and his crew
Right.
from Cheyenne. And it seems like any steam locomotive that anybody's building anywhere west of the Mississippi, and he's on it. Mm-hmm. And that's just really neat.
Yes.
Fun people, and they're doing a heck of a fine job on 81. And it should be moving under its own power this winter. And come the spring, they need to have 2 engines, and they will. They'll have 93 and 81, and 40 will be torn down for repairs.
Right.
So that's the news from not Lake Wobegon, but from the Nevada Northern.
Right.
At any rate, if you haven't been over to the channel, please pop over to the channel, and if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And the easy way to do that is the blue button.
Right.
You ready for it? Zoink. The blue button right there. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet, and we hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you on Tuesday, and we're going to look at some more brass engines.
Nice.
See you then.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.